going to share with you what we do at the university. And let's see if, all right. So the first question to ask yourself, and this is what I ask for anyone who's interested in any of the social sciences, is whether you're actually interested in people. So in trying to think about what you're going to major in, that's a key question. Are you interested in people? Because if you're interested, for instance, in fish or shellfish, we have other programs at the university which are really strong in that. But if you're interested in understanding how people live their lives, then that's what you want to be thinking about, the social sciences. And at the university, there are the different disciplines. In the School of Social Sciences and Natural Sciences, we have Anthropology and Sociology, which is a joint department. We also have Politics and International Relationships, and we have Psychology. And so a lot of students will take classes across the disciplines. Sometimes they'll double major. Also, a lot of students who are in the School of Justice Studies take Anthropology and Sociology courses, as do different double minors and double majors and a whole bunch of different things. So happy to strategize with you about different ways to do that. Let me tell you a little bit about our department, okay? And it sort of reflects on Roger Williams and the type of institution we are. So we're sort of a medium-sized university, and so there's lots of different programs. And so one of the things this means is that as a Anthropology and Sociology joint department, we specialize, right? And so one of the questions is, why is it joint, and what links us together? So one of the key things about us is all the faculty in our department are qualitative researchers of one sort or the other. In anthropology, as a broad discipline, there are a lot of different types of anthropology. There's physical anthropology, archaeology, which we don't do. And then there is cultural anthropology, which we do focus on. So we have cultural anthropologists. In sociology, likewise, there are broad spectrums of sociologists. There are sociologists who are very statistical in their analysis, very quantitative. And then there are sociologists who focus on conducting interviews and ethnographic fieldwork. So for us, we're also on the interview ethnographic fieldwork site. So that allows us as a department to have a common set of courses, a lot of overlap. There are courses that are distinctly anthropological, and there are courses that are distinctly sociological. But in general, we mix methods, we mix theory, and we're really interested in having our students go out into the field, whatever that research field may be, and do hands-on learning and hands-on research. So that's what pulls us together as a department. But as I said, we have lots of students who are double majors or who take minors in other disciplines because they want to mix different methods. And I'll come back to that in a minute. So talking a little bit more specific, and there's a lot of text on this, but we can circle back to this. We're interested in culture, we're interested in society, we're interested in the complexity of the human world, whether it's in your local coffee shop or in the way families organize themselves, or the way different types of social movements operate, or how political and environmental activism works. So we have a lot of specialties as far as topics go, but broadly we're interested in these areas. And one of the things we get our students to understand is that there are inequalities in this society and every society, and how to identify those inequalities, to identify patterns in human behavior. So if you're interested in those things, broadly, if you're interested in trying to understand economic stratification or inequality, if you're interested in understanding why people engage in ritual behavior that gives their lives meaning, right? This is the department for you, okay? Now, one of the things that will happen with your time here is in a university setting, you get a chance to explore a lot of ideas. You get to try out a lot of different things. And right now you're accepted to the university, and you get to start thinking about what your future might look like. And long term, what we do in our department, what we really focus on is giving you a intellectual toolkit that you can carry along with the rest of your life, right? A set of tools that whatever you end up doing professionally, you'll have. And we've had students who go on to lots of different types of careers, but they're able to use the same set of skills, the same set of theoretical perspectives in a lot of different contexts. And that's sort of our takeaway for you. So if as you're planning your future, your academic future, and as you're planning maybe a longer term, a career, one of the things we try to emphasize is don't get hung up on what you declare as your major. Think about the type of skills you want that you can use in a lot of different contexts, right? Some of our students do go on into graduate work that's either in anthropology or sociology, but most don't necessarily. And it's important that you don't get hung up on that. That instead you're like, oh, I'm learning things in a certain class and I can bring them into a different context. Now, our students, they engage in a lot of research, their own research. One of the things that we feel really good about as a program is a lot of our courses are research-oriented courses. So not doing book reports, but actually going out and interviewing people, studying people in their natural settings, whatever that may be. And for some of our students, that's because they're interested in doing community organization work. So they want to go and work for nonprofits. Some students want to work for government agencies. We have students who also work in academia and other types of positions. So advising positions, recruiting positions. We've had most of our students at some point or the other do a study abroad semester, and some then pursue that afterwards and pursue work opportunities outside of the US. Again, it sort of really depends on where your interests go. Some students are very community-centered and very community-focused, and others have a broader sense of what that would entail. Now, let me just talk briefly about requirements, so you can kind of so you can visualize, what exactly you would take as you're working your way through 4 years at Roger. Okay, so we have majors, we have minors, and then we also have at the university what we call core concentrations, which are sort of like a minor, not as many courses. And in our department, if you're a major, you have 5 foundational courses, okay? And so those are listed for you. And you can see you take an introductory course in cultural anthropology and an introductory course to sociology. So those 2 are your basic building blocks for everything else. And then from there, there's a 200 level course that links these together. And then usually in your junior year, you'll then take qualitative methods where you'll engage in a semester-long guided research project. And then in your senior year, you have your own individual thesis that you conduct in the senior seminar. Now, while you're doing that, okay, you're able to take all the different types of electives in the department. And I'll get to that in just a minute, because the faculty in the department teach a lot of different things. We have very different interests. But as you think about putting together your academic studies here, you will have a major, and then you'll be required to have a core concentration, which right now consists of taking 5 courses. In the future, if you decide that you take something as a core and you really like it, you can then maybe take an additional course and make it into a minor. So we'll have students who are Anth-Soc majors and psychology minors or history minors. But we also have students who are double majors. This year we have doubles in criminal justice, we have doubles in dance. So sometimes students are just interested in really tying together a lot of different ideas. And at the base of that is this idea that you have a set of tools that you can apply, whether it's thinking about how dance reflects community and meaning through body, or whether it's understanding police procedures and understanding how to provide safety to different communities, right? So very different career trajectories for our students, but they're able to take our ideas and apply them into different contexts. And all our students who are majors, their senior thesis, they're going to be able to study whatever they want. And we work with you to help create a project that you then have a writing sample, we usually also have you do a website that's tied to it, and do a public presentation. So you can present that to whether it's future employers or to graduate programs, right? So you have this work that is your own that you graduate with. And that's something that is sort of distinct about our department. A lot of other majors will have a senior project, but it's a project that everyone in the department is doing the same thing. What percentage of students does department have it? Robert, you'll need to clarify for that to me about percentage of students does the department have. Do you mean like how many majors do we have? So this year in our senior class, we have 12 students who are seniors. So we're sort of a small to medium-sized department. So hopefully that gives you a sense of that. But at Roger in general, classes are usually capped at 25 to 30 students. So you have a lot of proximity to faculty, and we're able to talk with you and answer questions and problem solve, usually face to face, but also right after class and as well. Now, here's a long list of different electives we have in the department. And this reflects the research interests of the faculty and things we do and engage in. We're interested in sports, we're interested in the environment, we're interested in cities, we're interested in health, and we're interested in all these things in a lot of different ways. And one of the things we hope students will be able to do is take ideas that they have in one class, in one context, and bring them into play in a different class, in a different context, and ultimately in your own research. These are some of the books we've written. So just to give you sort of a sense of who we are. My colleague, Jeremy Campbell, his book, Conjuring Property, is based on his research in the Amazon. He's won some awards for that book. He's a cultural anthropologist. My work is on gentrification in cities. So my book, Gentrifier. Professor Rothschild, who's a sociologist, she's done work on gun violence and studying it as a social movement. And then Professor Skolnikov, who's an anthropologist, her focus is on thinking about youth and sports in the United States. He doesn't have a book yet, but also we have another sociologist, Professor Heidi Raleigh, who does a lot of research on public health policy. Now, one of the things that makes us a little bit different as a department than the other departments at the university is that there's about a dozen other departments that use our courses as either part of their requirements or as an elective. So there are a lot of interdisciplinary programs that use our introductory courses as part of what they do, and also some of our upper level courses. So for instance, Urban Studies uses our Cities and Society course, which is a upper level course. We have a couple of sociology of we have a sociology of global health course, and that is used in public health. So we have a lot of courses that are used in other disciplines. And so when you're in classes with students in our department, you're oftentimes interacting with students who may be minoring in anthropology and sociology. And so you have a mix of ideas in any given class. And that's a really nice thing, because that way you're exposed to other people's experiences, whether you yourself are actually, a business major or criminal justice major or anything like that. Now, I'm glad you're here today. I'm glad you're in the Zoom room for anthropology and sociology. I think sometimes I mean, to circle back to the original question I had, which is, are you interested in people? There are a lot of different ways to be interested in people. At Roger Williams, there's sort of a division of labor about how we approach studying people in the social sciences. In the politics department, they're really good for doing survey research. So that's something they spend a lot of time thinking about, especially political surveys. But they also do simulation work. And if you're interested in seeing people not in a natural setting, but you're interested in seeing what happens when you put different variables on people's lives, that's a lot of what psychology focuses on. Now, let me just take a minute to see, Isabel, you had a question. If we major and minor do these counts, I want to take other ones. Yeah, right. So one of the things, whatever you major in, you're gonna be able to take other classes and other departments and other disciplines. Everything doesn't have to count towards your major. Everything doesn't have to count towards a minor. A lot of times students, especially the first couple of years, are trying out different things, taking introductory courses and a lot of different things. And also just sometimes there's an elective that just sounds really interesting in a department and you take that. And so one of the things that we do as faculty and as your advisors is help you keep track of what you're taking and the different requirements and credits so that you're steadily moving along. And also so that we can make sure that if there are certain opportunities you want, so whether it's to study abroad or to take an internship, that we help you schedule that. So it fits into your schedule at a time where you have the other requirements out of the way, and you're able to get the most out of it. In anthropology and sociology, again, our focus, even though we study a lot of different topics, we tend to come together over emphasizing knowing how to interview people, ask them questions, sit down with them, talk with them, and do ethnographic field work. That is, spend time with people where they're living their lives. So not in a laboratory, not in a controlled setting, not in a simulation, but in their daily lives, wherever that may be. We've had students who've done research on nursing homes because that's where they want to do as a career, and so that was their field site. We've had students in educational settings because they're interested in how teachers work. We've had students who are, I mean, last year we had a student who was very interested in video game culture, and so his research was going to video game conventions and studying people there, right? And he wanted to work in that industry and understand it better. So all the same tools, but in different contexts. And again, one of the things we do on our end as the faculty is really sit down with you, think about where you want to be, plan out different possible trajectories, and help you get there. And it's not just the faculty at the university. There's a lot of different staff who are there all along the way to make sure you succeed. One of the things that's really nice about Roger Williams as an institution is that we are large enough where we have a lot of different programs, but we are intimate enough where we can really sit down with you and talk and listen to your story and understand what you want to do. Sometimes, I mean, and I speak as from experience. I mean, I graduated from a very large university. And so sometimes you get, it's possible to get lost or feel lost. And Roger, people know you're there and are always there to talk with you and problem solve and strategize. And as I said, you know, part of what your academic experience can be is engaged in different types of internships. And there's a whole center here where people are helping keep track of different internships other students have done in the past, build relationships to the community. And for our students, what this oftentimes has meant is they wanted an experience where they're working with people. And sometimes it's working with communities that are underprivileged in one way or the other. Sometimes it's working with people of a certain age or people who are engaged in certain activities. I mean, last year we had 2 students who had jobs where one was a swimming instructor. That's what he did, is he worked at I think a YMCA, and had been working at YMCA for a long time, and that he was as a swim instructor. And then we had another student, and she had been a student and working on and doing karate for the past decade or so of her life. And so they both had work slash internship type things that also revolved around that. So again, it's sort of going to depend on what you're interested in, but also as at the university, there's going to be a big list of existing opportunities in the local community, in the state, that you may not have thought about or may not have realized were present. I mean, one of the things that's not up here, there's Dorcas, which does a lot of international work, which is really important. But also we've had a lot of students, because we're the ocean state and the university is very strong in marine science. We've actually had students who are interested in working and studying the local different aspects of aquaculture. So we've had students who have studied the oyster restoration process in Rhode Island. We've had students who studied the kayaking industry in Rhode Island. We've had students who have studied fishing holes. So people, places where people go and fishing. Again, these are all sort of things that you can find in many places, but here in Rhode Island, where there's a lot of different types of bodies of water and lots of different ways to engage with it, we've had students who've wanted to do work, not necessarily restoring oysters, but studying and working with people who do that type of work. Not necessarily fishing, though this student really was into fishing, but understanding fishing as part of the local community and local industry. So lots of different possibilities there. Again, all of our students engage in original research for their senior thesis. It's a lot of fun. Happy to answer any sort of questions you might have about that. I mean, that's obviously a few years down the line, but by the time you're there, you'll be really excited to pull all these different things together. And here are some sample theses topics. And again, you can just see students are interested in a lot of different things. Questions about what it means to be an athlete, what it means to be out of prison, what it means to be an immigrant, lots of different things. Now, sometimes this has to do with the student's individual life history, and so some of their interests are very personal. Oftentimes they're quite personal things that they've encountered and they wanted to understand them in a different way. But sometimes it's much more of just they took a course and they became really interested in that topic. Part of this also is presenting your ideas to a broader audience. So there are different regional conferences that we take students to where they can present posters or present talks. There's a student club, there's a student honor society. So we have both a club and an honor society. All our students are required to get city certification. So city is certification for dealing with human subjects and how to treat people ethically. That's a good question about the conferences. For our majors, we definitely make sure they go. But sometimes we have students who want to pursue something particular and they're a good fit, and depending on like maybe they wrote a paper, we'll take them to a conference as well. I mean, there are lots of different types of conferences in all the majors. So it sort of depends on what type of research you're doing. Right? But there are lots of opportunities, as well as the university itself has a yearly student conference. We also bring in our alums every year. So we have a sample of alums who can share what they've done, including students who are in graduate programs. And students have engaged in a lot of different type of graduate work. So it's not just becoming an anthropologist or sociologist. Some students go into law, education, local government, different types of counseling work. And then they go on to lots of other things, nonprofit work. Some students go and work abroad, doing AmeriCorps, things like that. So in transitioning to grad school, one of the things that eventually happens is actually the university now has a program that just started, I think, last year, that helps provide funding for students to take the necessary graduate different exams you need for graduate school. So it depends what type of program you're going to pursue, whether you need to take the GRE or LSAT or something like that. Down the line, you can sit down with your faculty member, your advisor, and they can really sort of help you strategize about what would be a good program for you, and what you would need to do to get into that program. So that's something that you'd want to sit down and spend more time thinking about. But if you have certain career trajectories that involve going to grad school, then from the get-go, that can be part of your plan. Here are some of our recent grads, and just, gone on to different types of things. Working at museums, working for companies, working at other universities. And just what's really great is every year we invite different groups of grads to come back and just share their experiences. None of them are professional anthropologists or professional sociologists, but they're using that toolkit in context, and all of them end up studying people and studying customers and interviewing people and really using those skills again and again in different ways. So that's a really great opportunity we have in the department. And the university in general supports, in thinking about going to graduate school and stuff, the university itself does a really nice job with career planning. Again, lots of different types of careers. There are things that probably should add to here. Sometimes students just, it's hard to know what the economy is going to be like. Right now, 4 years from now, it's very difficult to know what the economy is going to look like. And anytime someone says, this is what the job's going to be, there are going to be different types of jobs and different versions of existing jobs. And so one of the things you're going to want to be able to do is be intellectually flexible enough, and have a set of techniques that you can use in a lot of different contexts. And that's what we focus on. And this is all of us. This is the 5 full-time faculty in the department. And we just have very different research interests, but we're all there. And you would have, over your 4 years, you would end up taking classes with all of us. You should know that Professor Skolnikov is the faculty liaison. I think she's still the faculty liaison for student athletes. So she's very interested in student athletes at the university. And Professor Campbell is also the current head of the honors program at the university. So we have links into different departments. I'm also affiliated with the urban studies program, and Professor Hyderality is affiliated with the public health program. So we're able to sort of link you to a lot of different things. So let me pause and take questions. I know I've covered a lot of material, but happy to answer any sort of questions about the department, or Roger Williams, or Bristol, or Rhode Island. And you can take a moment to think about that. And you know what, let me just throw up one more slide. I usually don't have this, but as you can imagine right now, everything is sort of different than it usually is. And so one of the things, right now in rather tough circumstances, we've been pivoting to finish this semester's courses online. And that means having lots of different ways for students to contact us and interact with us. This is a slide I use with my class because we have shared video conferencing for our classes each day. We also have shared chat that's outside of the class, as well as email. And students are able to make sure that not only are they doing the readings, but they're able to engage with the material in multiple ways and engage with me in multiple ways, even though we're not physically with each other right now. And so that's something you should know also, that Roger has always been, as an institution, has always been flexible in case something comes up, and invariably things come up. Can I send it? Yes, we actually have students who just got back from Australia. We've had students who've gone to Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, most recently Italy also, I'm trying to think, England. So yeah, absolutely. A lot of students go and do a study abroad in different places. Sometimes that comes and informs what they want to do in their senior year, in their senior thesis. Usually you do study abroad maybe in your junior year. That's a good time to do it. And they'll oftentimes take anthropology or sociology courses there, oftentimes which will be ones that will be sort of the culture of Australia or understanding the people of New Zealand, things like that. And that's great. And that's, we love doing that. Professor Campbell and I have both led study abroad programs. I'm chair right now, so I'm not doing it, but in the past, I've been doing a summer program to London and Paris. And Professor Campbell has done study abroad down to the Amazon in Brazil, because that's his area of focus. Sure. Also, when you think about internships, as with study abroad programs, usually those are things that you would probably do your junior year, your senior year. Internships, there are different types of internships. There are paid internships, and then there are ones that are for credit. In our department, most students do ones for credit, so they do it for as if for a course. It's just going to depend on the specific internship, but that's usually when you do it. You would do it in your junior or senior year. Yeah. Any other questions I can answer for anyone? About study abroad, about internships, about any of the requirements, about interacting with faculty. I mean, usually we would be face-to-face and hanging out and probably having coffee, and though there's no pressure to drink coffee. And I mean, one of my students right now, the last time I saw him in my office hours, he said, you know, one of the things he likes about office hours was that it's an opportunity to tell your story. That is, to have someone who wants to listen to you and understand sort of what you're trying to do with your life. And I think what makes Roger Williams really great for so many students is it's that type of place where you can sit down with someone who is interested in the same type of things you are and just really talk about what you want to do. And not just as a one-time thing, but many times over the years. Any other questions? Okay, so one of the questions is when would you, if you have two majors, you know, when can you, like, sort of when do you have to do that? When do you have to really sort of decide whether you're two majors or start a major or make all those plans? You're required by the end of your sophomore year to have declared. So you really, the university is designed and the curriculum is designed so that you really do have 2 years to explore things. That said, in those 2 years, what you will want to do is take the introductory courses in different programs, because those will be the prerequisites. There's always time to take on a new minor, a second major, right? But you'll have to strategize about that. If you wait until your junior year to start a second major, it's oftentimes means you're going to have to take a lot of electives in that major, which will fill up your schedule and could fill it up. And it may be trickier to then plan out a study abroad or plan out an internship. But we have students who are doing that all the time. We have students who, for a variety of reasons, you know, later in their academic career, they really figure out what they want to do. And I mean, I know this year we have, I think, 3 students who joined us as double majors very late. Really, they had been minors and they decided they wanted to major in their senior year. And so it's a little bit of work, I mean, on their part, because we need to make sure that to see that they have any prereqs that they didn't finish or any of the foundation courses, but they do, and they're working on their senior theses right now. So yeah, there's always time to do things, but the more you can plan ahead, the better. Any other questions? Anything else I can answer for anyone today? All right. On this last slide, you'll see that there's my email, jpatch@g.rw.edu. Feel free to send me an email. You know, if tomorrow or a month from now you have a question, follow-up question, happy to talk with you more. Everything is a little unusual, mildly, and you know, one of the things that Shamika and the other staff at the university have been doing, and other faculty, is just trying to be as present for you as possible. You have a lot you have to figure out, and we're here to try to answer as many questions as possible. Okay, so feel free to reach out in the future if you have other questions.
Thank you, Professor Patch. So as he said, please do feel free to reach out if other questions come up, whether to him individually or your admissions counselor who is there to connect with you and is really a lifeline and your main connection to Roger Williams. So if that person cannot answer your question, he or she would certainly be able to connect you with the right person at Roger who can answer that question for you. So do connect with your admissions counselor if things do come up. The other thing I'm going to encourage you to do is to continue to tune into these sessions. We have a number that are set to take place over the next week or so. So focusing on different majors, talking about student support services, student life at Roger Williams. So all of the things that, all of the resources and things that make Roger Williams a special place will be covered at some point throughout all these different sessions. We'll try at least. And then keep an eye out also for our virtual communities that are going to be launching very soon. So we'll be emailing you all about those. But those communities are going to be a great way for you to connect with other students who've been accepted, as well as professors and current students and other staff at Roger Williams. So there'll be, for instance, a school of social and natural sciences, of humanities, arts, and education, et cetera, and you'll be placed into a pod for your school, and then you can choose to join other groups based on your extracurricular interests, let's say athletics, for example. So look out for those. We're finding ways to connect you all with each other. And if you think of things that you need from us, once again, please let us know. Thanks again for joining us, and congratulations on being admitted to Roger. Hope to see you in the fall. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.